going on, everybody? Nick Powell's, publisher of 1851franchise.com. Super excited to have Michael Waltrip here today. Michael, welcome. Thank you for spending some time with me. While this is called Meet the Zor, you are an entry-level franchisor, and we'll get into that. But I would love for you to go backwards on this tap room. You opened it in 2020, which I can't imagine what your brain goes through opening a business like this during COVID. But maybe take me back there. Like, how did you even get to opening up this business? And then what was the original dream behind it?
The fun thing about the business, it was three guys in wine country, Sonoma, having a nice buttery Chardonnay one morning and getting ready to play golf. And one of the three of us asked the other two, why don't we ever drink more beer? I'm like, I don't know. Beer's kind of gotten boring to me at my point in life. And, you know, I'm not a hoppy, crafty, over the top kind of guy. And I got tired of drinking Miller Lights basically. And so I said, well, what if we landed in the middle somewhere? You know, we're craft beer, but we're not fancy craft beers. And I don't know how much you know about me, but I'm not a fancy guy. You know, I'm kind of a blue collar, just love NASCAR, love golfing, and love going out on the lake. And what matches up better to those three things than a cold beer? So we started the idea at Sonoma in 19, and then we went to Denver, Colorado. That was our assignment from a buddy of ours who's a brewmaster. He said, go to Denver, Colorado, wander around for 2 days, and visit all the microbreweries and all the different pubs, and just tell us what you like when you drink a beer. Tell me what feels good to you. And so I'm like, that's my assignment. Go to Denver and drink beer. I'm your man. And so off we went. Our president, Brian Sperber, took notes about what we liked and didn't like. And it was very detailed at first, and then it get a little sloppy at the end of the day. And then we'd re-rack and start again the next day and do the same thing. And out of that, we came up with our three basic standards of Michael Waltrip Brewing. It's a coconut IPA, which I'm not an IPA guy that much, and this beer is wonderful to me. Just full-bodied, nice flavor, 6.0 alcohol, so it'll get your attention. And it's just a fun beer to me. And then we have a blonde ale and a Mexican lager. And we've recently added a fourth beer to the can mix, to what we're trying to get out to the stores and convenient stores around town. And it is a tangerine ale, and it is wonderful. It's called Bristol Sunshine, and it's very, very, it's a bit fruity, but not too much fruity. You can just taste that flavor of the tangerine. So we started in Arizona, and we pivoted to the East Coast because of an opportunity to have our brewery and tap room in Bristol on this side of the country. And a buddy of mine had a building that had state-of-the-art brewing capacity and equipment. And so we moved in to his place, and we've been making our beer ever since then. And now, through our relationship with Ken and all the folks on his team, we've opened up our second tap room down at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And that's exciting. There's a lot of traffic down there. There's a lot of events around that racetrack, just like in Bristol, where people kind of know my name. And, you know, when people know your name and want to see what your beer is all about, that's a good feeling. And I'm really enjoying being able to visit the tap house in Bristol and the tap room down in Concord, North Carolina. We're off to a great start, and we're only going to grow from here.
All right, I have a follow-up question, but my first comment is you have to have Michael's Chardonnay that is only served in the morning, and then it goes off menu. Like, that has to be on the list now that I've heard that story.
Yeah, you know, you can't beat a buttery Chardonnay around 11 o'clock. I can promise you that.
Great.
And I'll tell you another thing. The tangerine ale, you know, it's got fruit in it. That's also not a bad breakfast beer.
There you go. All right, so COVID hits, though. Are you stressed? Are you drinking more beer because of that? Or are you like, look, I've been through battles before. I know we're going to see another side to this. Let's just go.
Yes. I just said this, as my mom used to tell me when I was a little boy, this too will pass, son. And I know it was challenging to our country, and challenging for small businesses. But we just decided we would take a step back, evaluate what our future looked like at that moment, and understand that we were just going to take a deep breath. So that strategy, that philosophy worked out great. We did it push forward during COVID. We just sort of tried to, batten down the hatches and hang on until we figured out the other side and what it looked like. And when we came out of that, we wound up in Bristol, Virginia with our brewery pub there. And now this is the next step.
All right, so you get this thing going. You've obviously done your research. You go from California to Denver to getting this thing up and running. Are you thinking, how do we scale this across America? Or are you like, it'd be cool just to have one of these?
Well, we want to be a national brand. That's our goal, and we think our beers are worthy of people all over our country being able to have them. So that was certainly part of the plan. And then meeting Ken and his group sort of threw that into gear. We didn't have a plan to franchise, and we didn't have a plan to add 10 tap rooms in the next 5 years. Like, that wasn't a part of it. It was focusing on doing what we do in Bristol perfectly. And our menu there is exquisite, and the beers are great. People really, we just won Best in Bristol for our brewery, a yearly award that the city comes up with. And so that was an honor. And we just felt like focusing on Bristol and then trying to get our beers into Publix and Harris Teeter and Total Wine, trying just to get our beer out there where people that want it to get their hands on it. That was our sole focus. And with the partnership with Ken, that now we're able to take two approaches to our growth. One, focusing on the beer, and secondly, working on the tap rooms.
So, I mean, you're an expert. I mean, your entire career is built around the widget is you are a driver, but the reality is the widget is an exercise in branding. And so you lift up your name, you build up a reputation. Brands want to put their logos on your cars, on your uniform, on everything that you touch. So I would assume this ends up being very similar. Like, the reality is, a franchise buyer, they're also buying into you as a human being, because you're the name behind this and the widget that you created in the tap room. Do you see a lot of similarities in the relationships that you had to have with a brand to prove value, and the relationship you would have to have with, a business partner in a business like this?
Well, let me just tell you, it's 100% what I've done my whole life. There's no difference in owning a brewing company and racing a car. And the first evidence of that is our beautiful cans. I mean, they're so cool looking. They're tight. They are simple, and I think people can really identify with me and those cans, because I wanted my hands involved in what the race car was going to look like. How would Napa pop off that race car? How would Toyota look the best as we partnered together to go race cars and to sell product? And the cans and the little fun sayings that are on each can, I think are real great, are evidence that it's just me being me still. I couldn't race a car if I didn't have someone's name on the side of it to sponsor it, because it costs money to race a car. And when I was a kid, my dad worked at the Pepsi plant and my mom was a checkout lady at the grocery store. We didn't have extra money to go racing. And I knew that in order to have the ability to do what I loved and so passionate about, I had to sell. I remember, this is a great story. It was like my first ever trip to a company to present my plan to them to sponsor my car. I went to a little automotive place in Owensboro, Kentucky, my hometown, and I was a Pepsi man. My dad got me a job at the Pepsi plant, and I went in there in my Pepsi uniform at lunchtime, and the guy's name was Fred Geip, and Fred owned that Geip Automotive. And I sat down in front of him, and I didn't have a computer. Hell, I don't even know if there were computers, but I made me a portfolio of what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. and presented it to him at my lunch break from the Pepsi plant. And I told him I needed $500 and I needed free parts so that I could go racing that season, 1981. And he said, "You got it. We'll give it a go." And just being prepared and having a plan and trying to sell who you are and what you want to do has been a part of my life since 1981 for sure, but probably before that. And that's where we are with this beer. We have a plan. We feel like we've got great beer. We know that Ken is the right partner on the franchising side to grow our brand across the country. And I want to be involved. It's not Michael Waltrip Brewing that I lent my name to. I own a third of it. Me and Brian Sperber and Glenn Gross own it. And we are partners with Ken on the franchising side. So if the phone rings while we're talking and it's Ken and he needs me to go somewhere to have a meeting about our next tap room, then I'm going to have to put you on hold.
I love that. Okay, so now I want to go and I'm going to swing into having the guard up. Obviously, you can walk into a room, people recognize you automatically. They have a relationship with you because of the relationship that they had with you when you were driving automobiles, if you're on television. How have you been able to cut through some of the BS with human beings and make sure that you're talking to a genuine one? Because obviously in franchising, you have to cut through that and read the human to make sure they're doing it for the right reasons. How have you built up that skill set to have a guard up on who's allowed into your inner circle?
Well, my deal is pretty simple, and I haven't always been as cordial and as patient and probably not as kind as I wish I had been at times. But now I get the most satisfaction in life out of bringing smiles to people's faces. If someone sees me and they're happy to see me, I'm not going to rob their joy by being an ass. I'm going to sign their card, or I'm going to chat with them a bit. And I'm not changing that. I'm not the franchising expert. That's Ken and Jenna and that whole team's. That's their strong suit. So if someone wants to talk to me about franchising, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to be a part of it, and I'm going to do all I can to grow it. Give Ken a call. Talk to Jenna. Talk to Joe. That's not.
Let's see if Michael returns. Give him a second. Well, for anybody that's watching, while I wait to see if Michael comes back, technology, this is how it works. There he is. You're back. Did that work?
Did I lose you?
There you are. Now you're back.
Sorry.
All good. Where it cut out is you're like, I'm going to let the candidates talk with the people that are the expert in franchising. I'm just going to be me.
Yeah. And that's all it is. And I think that's, someone used to say to me a lot, stay in your lane. You're not the crew chief, you're the driver. You focus on the things that you're good at. And I think I've gotten pretty good at representing companies and bringing smiles to race fans' faces. And the partners, Ken and that group, they're experts. That's what they do, and that's why we've teamed with them.
So, the reality is today is north of 4 years beyond the point where you said, I want to do this. And I think one of the misconceptions in anything, it could be as simple as racing, the amount of preparation and homework and structure and team and modeling that goes behind you even winning a race is the same that goes into business. Do you see a lot of similarities in preparing for a race as an athlete as you would in business now that you've been doing this for a while?
Yeah, and that's what I love. Like people say, oh, I didn't know I had a beer company. I said, yeah, for 4 years now we've been doing this. So it'll never be an overnight success. It'll always just be a work in progress. And I think it's important to put the time in to grow the brand. And as far as a race car driver goes, you just have to really focus on the things that you do well, and then lean on the people around you for the things that you feel like they're stronger at. So it's teamwork. That word gets used over and over in racing, but it's so true. You're only as good as your car. You might be the best driver in the world. If you don't get your right chemistry with your team or get your car right, you're never going to be able to show how good you are. So I'm a big teamwork guy. And so I a lot of times just say, what do you think? And, how do you think this would work best? And then when it comes to the marketing side of it, or it comes to branding, I feel like I got a pretty good grasp on that. And we all just sort of collaborate together to come up with the best plan to move forward.
Love it. So when you decide that you're done with racing, and I think this is an important moment for a lot of people that would get into business as a franchisee. They decide that they're done with something, they're ready to do something different, or they're ready to diversify their portfolio and add something. So they're going to go through a very similar pathway. And for you, I believe one of the pathways that will happen with your business is that former athletes are also going to look at this as a viable opportunity for them to continue on beyond whatever they're hanging up. If you go back to the moment where you're like, I'm done with racing, did you know what you, outside of golfing and having your buttery Chardonnay in the morning, was there, like, did you have a vision for what you wanted to do? Or were you searching for what else would you do when you're beyond racing?
Well, interestingly enough, I retired from driving in 2017. I raced a little bit short track racing the last couple of summers. I retired from NASCAR, I should say, in 2017. I did some short track racing recently, but I don't look at me as ever have quit racing yet. My job at Fox takes me to 30 some races a year. So I'm there and I'm still involved, and my role is different. So to answer your question, I don't know what I'm going to do when I give up racing. But I do know that it's been fun to have a beer company, and plus I don't know when I'm going to give up racing. It's definitely going to be with Fox again next year, and probably beyond that. So I'll just keep working, keep being in racing, and hopefully keep building the brand of Michael Waltrip Brewing.
What's the dream for the next year? What is winning for you if you had to paint the next 12 months?
Seeing a couple of tap rooms, the Michael Waltrip tap rooms pop up. We just did our second, as we talked about, in Concord, and a couple more would be cool. But mainly just seeing people having a cold beer in their hand and a smile on their face. I got to tell you, nothing feels much better than seeing someone you don't know drinking one of your beers. You're like, damn, they had a choice and they picked my beer. That's pretty special. And so winning for me would be to see more and more of that.
I love that, Michael. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's falsely portrayed that brands sell brands, and brands don't sell brands, people do. And if we just start with the fact that you as a human that is looking at this as, how do I make people happy and what makes me feel happy? Like, that alone will resonate with an audience that is thinking about going to business. There are many widgets that you can buy. There are many franchises that you can buy, but you being authentic and saying, look, I just want to have a good time. I did this for the right reasons. And hopefully this is going to connect with an audience that wants to also open up their own tap room. I think you're well on your way. I think you're taking the right approach to this.
Well, it's just who I am, and partnering with people. I love, my favorite thing is partnering with people smarter than me, and my two partners in the brewery are certainly that, and Ken and his group are as well. So I just like to surround myself with smart, sharp, but mainly people that care. I want people with heart, and I want to hang around with those people. And so that's where we're at right now, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Well, Michael, I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes. Obviously, there's a lot ahead for both you and for the brand. For Michael Waltrip, I'm Nick Powles. Thanks for watching an episode of Meet the Zor. Take care, everybody.